part of this. Okay, all right. Well, welcome to our Saturday Empower meeting. And my name is Peg Tucker. I'm a coach with New Life, and I'm very excited to be here taking over in Paul Capozio's absence. And I've got my business partner, Mel Jordan, on here to support me. We are going to go over a few things that are current and a few things that are kind of back to basics. I'm really excited to share something that Ken Olson shared with me recently. And it was a training done for a real estate office by a woman whose name is Casey Council. And she did this for eXp Realty. However, her background is network marketing. So the skills are very transferable, right? So welcome everyone, and we're going to keep this to 60 minutes or under. I will first go over basically the structure and the components of a three-way call and the importance of it, and then Melanie's going to do some role playing on what a three-way call, so we can really get some experience on what a three-way call actually looks like, and then we're also going to talk about Fearless February. So I'll get right into it. One of the things that I wanted to share with you is that, going into where we are right now, we're at the cusp where New Life is just going like this, right? So there's a beginning phase where nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows if the company's going to make it. We're past that. And we are experiencing a second wave of momentum. But we're still at a point where the majority of people don't know about us. We're getting to that point where people are going to start looking and saying, okay, it's safe now. Everything's good. Now I'm going to take a second look. So we're really in a very sweet spot for anyone who has heard about us in the past or anyone who hasn't. So what I wanted to get into, I do a lot of attraction marketing. And it's working for me, but that takes time. And really, attraction marketing is about attraction marketing is about the marketer. It's about me making my life look like something that people want to know. Wait, tell me more about that. I want to know, what is it that you're doing? So, whether it be with showing my results from the product, showing what the company has done for me, showing what the business has done for me. Recruiting is something very different. And recruiting sometimes, anyone, raise your hand if you feel like you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm a rock star recruiter. I've got this. So I don't see any hands up so far. So it's something, I think, because a lot of it is because we have a bad feeling about recruiting. We feel like it's about us. But if you take a different approach and take a different look at it and see it from a perspective of that there are people that are looking, there are people that need what you have, and you have something that can be a solution. So if you take the time to listen to what's important for people, what they're looking for, what they need, and know that you can be a resource for them to solve the problems that they have in their life, if you can, genuinely, then you are doing them a favor by sitting them down and getting them to be open to hearing what we have. So, and the other part of the third party validation, the reason it's so important is we can share with so many people, but we can't build a large organization all by ourselves. We need to work together as a team. So, and if you can systematize recruiting, if you can systematize and help other people to do the same thing, then you've got duplication. Then you can build a large organization, right? So this is why Mel and I were talking earlier this week, saying we really need to have a team of people who are comfortable doing three-way calls for each other. We can't depend on 1, 2, or 3 people. We need a lot of people to be familiar with it and comfortable with it. So is anybody already comfortable with transitioning into a three-way call or third-party validation? Okay, so let's see what we can do to get a little more comfortable. One thing that I have found that really softens the introduction into it, or can even take its place in some cases, But I do feel in the long run, if someone's looking to build a business with you, you need to make a phone call. But what can soften that introduction is a text message. So starting a text message between yourself and your prospect and your business partner or your third-party validator, and saying, validating or edifying your prospect and edifying the expert or your business partner, and letting them meet a little bit that way and have a conversation. Then when it's time, when they're open to a phone call, they're going to be more open to it more quickly. So the parts of, I actually have a slide. Let me see if I can share my screen real quick. Okay. Hang on one second, guys. It's not this slide that I wanted. It is this one. Okay. Oops. That was not what I wanted. Okay. Okay. So this is, these are the components that I want to go over of a third-party validation. So first, what you want to do when you're talking to someone, what's the reason for that third-party validation? Well, you're telling people that you've got a team, right? You're telling people that you've got support. So where is that support? This is where you're bringing that support in. You're getting a different perspective. Different people have different perspectives. You can have two kids in the same family that think about their background or their childhood completely differently, right? You're saying that you've got commitment. This is showing that you're committed to helping this person. And also, what you've got to look at too, what you can learn while you're listening to that third-party call. So the first part is clear the time, making sure that the person has that time available, and making sure you set a set amount of time. Say if I like 20 minutes. I feel like 30 minutes is a little long for both parties, because you want to be able to build this in pockets of the day, and you want to be able to show your distributor or your prospect that you're building it in pockets of the day. You want to get, so you want to just check in with the person and say, hey, we had a call at noon. Are you still good? Or when you connect with them, okay, we've got 15 minutes set aside. Is that going to work for you? And if it's longer, if you say we've got 30 minutes set aside for you, they might say, oh, I've only got 15. Then you know your window frame, right? And then setting the context. This is really important, because you're not just connecting the call and just being like, hi, just want you guys to meet. Just thought it'd be nice if you would meet. This is something that I learned from this training done by Casey. I thought it was really good. So it's stating what the purpose of the call is. So you can say, the purpose of the call is for you to meet my business partner, who I have incredible respect for, and to have an experience of our team, and to get any questions answered. And then you would move into, you're going to edify the prospect. So what that would look like is you want to make them feel important. They are the most important person on the call, because really they are the most important person on the call. So it's an icebreaker, and it allows you to have their ears. It makes them tune in. So you can say something like, this is my friend. This is Diane. What I really like about Diane is she's got a huge heart. She loves to help people, and she's really committed to making a difference in her life right now. And then, you're going to, the second person you're going to edify is edify the prospect. I'm sorry, edify the senior partner or the business partner. So what Mel and I were talking about is maybe not necessarily having we don't want to use the word on this call, on the three-way call. We don't want to use the word upline, or really even mentor. I think business partner is a really good word to use. We can use senior business partner. I think that's a good term. But so you want to edify them and say, you want to keep this part short. You want to say a little bit of their accolades. If there's, you can get into what their background is. If it is a senior business partner, you can get into what their accomplishments have been. You could say, if it's someone who you can say is a public speaker, a mindset coach, something to that effect. If it's someone in an, say if it's someone like Paul Capozio, right? Author, speaker, mindset coach, successful business person. That way you're not letting them talk about themselves. and kind of sound like arrogant, right? So you're saying it for them. And you can say, but what I really love about Paul is that his dedication to the team and the amount, his generous time, his generosity with his time and his commitment to making a difference. So something along those lines. And all of this, you want to be genuine. You want to think about it ahead of time, but be genuine, but keep this part short, because you don't want to defluff the feathers. You fluffed up your prospect a little bit, right? You want to keep them feeling like, oh, okay. But you want it to be just short and sweet and have it be something that they'll be like, wow, I get to talk to this person. Like, this is great. This is awesome. And it could be just because they identify with them. If you've got someone who's a nurse and you get them on the phone with someone who's a nurse, that, you know, just that congruency that they can identify with them. Then you're going to pass it to your business partner and mute. You don't want to say a word unless you're asked. You want to mute yourself out. And if you are an A-type personality, it may be difficult for you to not say something. So mute yourself out, because here's the thing. And Casey did this, gave this illustration of picture like a tennis match. You've got your prospect and your business partner, and they're volleying back and forth. The minute you jump in and start hitting balls with your business partner, it's 2-on-1. And it becomes a push. And what you want is a pull. You want to leave that person feeling like, okay, I want more of that. That felt great. I want more. And if you are if you are the person who's doing the call, if you're the third party validator and the other person does jump in, you want to do your best to mute them. One good suggestion she had was just saying, hey, that's a really good point. Can we get back to that at the end? Because that'll be very, gently remind them that zip it, right? So when the third party person is talking to the prospect, they want to, basically you want to gather, you want to ask a little bit about the person, say, what, I know this, Melanie has told me this about you, but we're just meeting for the first time. I'd like to know a little more. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what's important to you. While they're talking, as the validator, you want to take a couple notes and make sure that you know what their pain points are. If there's anything that you can address, that you can direct their attention to when you get into sharing with them. After they've shared, it's a good idea to say something like, Mel, I get that you've been a business owner all your life, and you've been really, really successful and powerful in that you're looking for something different. And I totally get it. I totally get it that you're looking for more of a passive income, that you can, enjoy your life more and enjoy your family. And then ask them, what is it that I can share with you, or what questions can I answer for you? And get their entire list, because if you start with the first one and you've only got 5 minutes left, you're going to leave off what may be most important to them. So when they tell you, say, okay, and what else? Okay, and what else? Okay, and if there was one more thing that I could share with you, what would that be? And then you can start from there answering their questions. I thought that was a really brilliant thing. I really love this training. So then you're going to share, you're going to try answer their questions the best that you can. And the thing is, if you don't do this, if you don't do this next step, so the next step is scheduling something afterwards. So the next steps, what's going to make the most sense for you to be the next step? She used an analogy of like a helium balloon. If you get out of that conversation and you let go of that balloon, they're gone, right? So what she suggested is, what based on what we talked about, what is the best next step for you? Sorry, I'm checking my notes here. And she said, we have a few different directions that we can go. You may want to hear from someone else to hear a different perspective. You may want to take part in some of our trainings to really experience what it is that we do. There may be something specific that you would like to, either see or read or hear that would answer some questions for you, or you may be ready. You may be ready to just sign up. And, basically what she was saying is, if you don't do that, if you don't follow up, and it's not that it's a close, right? It may take 5 or 6, 7 exposures for them to say, I'm ready. But if you don't do that, to the person who is very competence orientated, they're going to look at it that it wasn't that important. Oh, this whole conversation wasn't that important. And then someone who is more sincerity based is going to be like, oh, well, they didn't really care about all that I shared about myself, about what I need. So this is, you're either way, whatever way the person looks at it, you're helping them. So all of this helps all of us to, every time we do it, it's like playing, I said in the training the other day, it's like playing a game. It's like playing a sport. You get better at it. You don't get better at it by learning it. You get better at it by doing it. So you get to learn while you're doing. And I think that, I just want to do a real quick example invite that she went over before I turn it over to Mel. So she said a sample invite would be, you meet up with someone waits on you, someone you had some sort of transaction with, and you could say, I think, I see you are someone who, and compliment them for whatever it was that they, you're so on top of things, and you seem so ambitious. And I would tweak this a little bit, but, you could say something like, I'm involved with a group of individuals who are committed to making a difference. And would you be open to having a conversation to see if possibly in any event you might want to take part in what we're doing? And if they say, sure, and I like using the word, are you open? Because if you say, are you interested? If they don't really know anything about it, of course, they're not interested, right? But are you open? People don't like to say, no, I'm not open. So that's a good entry. And then you can say something like, if you have someone who is in the same field as them, you can say, great, you know what, let me tell you who I'm going to get on this call with you. I'm going to get, my friend Donna, who's a nurse, or my friend Mel, who's been in the service industry forever, or my friend Charmaine, who lives in California. And I'm going to get them on the call and mention their background a little bit, and just, set up a call, say, oh, great. Okay. So what's better for you is how about Wednesday? Give me 3 times that are good on Wednesday. I'm sure I can get Mel on the phone. Give me 3 times that are good for you, and we'll connect. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. If you'd like, I have this all in notes. If anybody would like my notes, I'm happy to share that. And I would love, Charmaine listened to this also, and we were having a conversation about it. So I would love, Charmaine, if I missed anything that you felt was like something that you thought was a really good point, could you jump in?
Yes, you had awesome content. What I just wanted to reinforce is the part where, we're listening to our guest or our prospect. So as you're introducing and edifying the prospect, what that means is ahead of time, you need to listen. Oftentimes what happens is our prospect is talking and we're not really listening. We're waiting for them to stop so we can reply, right? We've heard that many times. So you really need to do that homework, as when they're telling about themselves, they're telling about their lives, they're having some challenges. Oh my gosh, someone just rang the doorbell, and you're patient. You have to be able to say, oh my gosh, and relate to them. Because if you come from a spot where it's very cold, when you're trying to introduce the prospect, you're trying to edify them, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I think she said she had some kids, or did he work in construction? So really, to prepare for that 3-way call, you need to know the prospect more, draw out some questions so that when you're done edifying the prospect and you're introducing your senior partner, your business partner has heard what the prospect is about, and can draw out more of what the pain point is, like Peg was saying. So that was one thing that I thought would be important, is we need to listen. We need to listen intently to what they're saying instead of trying to get them to rush through so we can give them all the answers.
Yeah, I thank you for reinforcing that, Charmaine, because it really is, it's like the biggest part of this is that was something that I wasn't doing on a regular basis, is edifying the prospect and really making them feel they are a very important part of this conversation, and you're here as a resource to help them to decide if this is a good fit for them. So I love that. I love that. So Melanie Jordan, if you would like to transition into, I don't know if you want to do role playing
Hey,
first.
Peg,
Yeah.
Peg, I have a question for
Sure.
you.
Hi.
Going back to, good morning.
Good morning.
And you look fabulous, by the way. I love the gel glow. You do look so beautiful today. Okay,
Thank
sorry. When I was the person being interviewed, when I was on a three-way with, so Mel was my person, right? And then I was on the three-way with somebody above her. I personally remember sitting in that seat thinking that I didn't know how to be in a conversation with her. And I kept trying to draw Mel back into the conversation, like, because I was just in a weird, like, I'm confident, I'm capable, I'm all of those things, but it felt weird for me to be in the conversation with Mel not being part of the conversation. And then all of a sudden she was just like gone. So I don't know how to solve that. But it was a very real feeling for me. I did not want to ignore the fact that Mel was there. I don't know if Mel could have done it different, like, hey, I am here, or if it was my lack of wanting to be on the call with the other person or what. But I, as the person, wanted to keep drawing somebody else, Mel, back into the conversation. I don't even know if Mel would remember that at all, but like, I didn't like to be the one only talking to the leader.
Yeah, so I think probably, and maybe Mel did say, I think what I would say is I'm going to mute myself out now. That hearing what you're saying, I get what you're saying, because you didn't know that Mel was going to disappear, right? You not knowing.
Oh no, she definitely told me. She set
Okay.
that up. It's just that for me, like, so Mel, I kept like asking her questions and bringing her back in. So maybe one of the things is like, just be prepared for the people listening, like talking, that they may throw you back into the ring. I don't know, like the person that muted, just be part of the conversation too. I don't know what I'm saying, but it is normal. At least I'm not crazy all the time. So I think other people might do that too.
So, okay, I get what you're saying. I think it's a really important component though, Hannah, to not, for for Mel to not have butted in, right, to the conversation, and maybe all of us hearing that could say, you know what, we'll bring Mel back in at the end, right, as the third party validator. We'll get Mel to answer that question for you at the end. I just want to learn more about you so I can help you. I don't know what that conversation went like, but I have to say, this was an uncomfortable thing for me in the beginning, doing three-party calls. It felt like, it just felt really, really hard, really heavy. And that's why I think using the text to transition into it is a really good thing. But I have to say that I really have not had an experience with any of the leaders or any of my business partners in New Life that felt at all uncomfortable for my prospect. Like I'm very empathetic, and I feel it when people are comfortable. Like it really bothers me. So, I don't think that, and I'm sorry that happened to you, Hannah. I don't think that is the typical feeling. I think we come in as the experts, as the third party, saying, what is it that I like to say, what is it that you're looking for? Because I want to, that's why I like this, asking them, tell me a little bit about you. What's important for you? What questions can I answer for you? And maybe letting the prospect know, I'm going to get you on the call with this person. They're going to answer all your questions for you before the call even starts. right? So maybe you would have come to the call with that expectation and questions. I'm not. So, but thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that perspective for sure. Anybody else have questions?
I do have a comment.
Yeah.
Hannah, thank you for that perspective. And I will absolutely be aware of that when I am on connection call. I had a connection call this week though with Donna, and it was a last minute, Donna's like getting done with, I think it was pickleball. And I had a nurse who was a prospect. And so I had said, let me get one of my partners, and she happens to be a nurse as well. So we get on the phone, I edify Michelle, I bring in Donna, and there was such a good rapport between them. And Donna knew I was on the phone. So then she goes, and I'll have Charmaine send a video to you. Well, I didn't unmute at that point to say, oh, yes, I will. And then at the end, she said, okay. And then, I think it was something about Facebook or something. So my prospect said, Charmaine, are you still on the phone? And so I had to unmute. And I'm saying, oh, absolutely. What's your Facebook name? And I'll send some videos. But the rapport was so good that for, the 10, 15 minutes that they were talking, I thought, I'm glad I can listen in, right? I'm glad I can hear Donna share her experience and then Michelle ask questions. So that's one of the experiences. So what we want, is like the middle ground. So it's good to hear people's experience, because then we're like, oh, okay, going forward, I want to make sure that my prospect feels comfortable knowing I'm still on the phone. But like you said, Peg, I'm going to go ahead and let Donna answer your questions. I'm just going to go ahead and mute.
Yeah,
I'll jump back in.
I agree. I think hearing Hannah's experience, I think it wouldn't hurt to just jump in and say, hey, I want to respect Diane's time here. I'll answer your questions after. Diane's super busy. I mean, you want to make this is a special time. You're getting on the phone with someone who's, who wants to help you. This is awesome. And I'll answer your questions afterwards. So I think that's, and this letting them know, yeah, I'm still here. Right. Nancy, you had a question.
Yeah, it's not really a question, but you don't necessarily have to mute out, because when I do these calls with Kenny or whomever, he sometimes will ask me things and I'm there. I'm quiet, but I'm there to either, say, I agree, or just when he's asking a quick question of me, I'm right there. So they know that, I'm not really muted out. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't, I mute out if I'm in an area, but for me, when I say mute out, it's kind of like I sit on my hands, right? I'm going to shut up.
Okay.
Until I'm asked, I'm asked something, right?
Perfect.
So thanks, Nancy.
Mhm.
John.
Hi, Peg. Hi, good morning, everybody. I think maybe clarifying for myself on what you were saying is finding the right person to do the three-way phone call with, so you can sit back. A little while back, I had a guy who's 37 and he goes to the gym a lot. He wants to compete like Dr. Gomez did. He wants to compete next year. So I got Jordan De Felice on, and the conversation was going so well that it was just like, putting a choke chain on me to not unmute and jump in. And then there was only one time that I did, so I can make sure something was clarified right. And then I said, okay, I'm muting myself right back out, and then just pulled myself away so quick. But I haven't had that many three-way calls. So this is a very important training for me, because it's difficult to pull them in without feeling like you're pushing them in, because I feel somewhat dirty about the whole thing still anyway, even though I'm trying to help somebody. So because of that Western culture, we've all been scammed and stuff like that. And that's a hurdle that I try to get over just with myself. It's me against me. So there you go. Right. Oh, I agree. And I think coming from this perspective of that you are someone who cares enough about what someone's needs are and what they're, what's important to them. And you're making yourself a resource, connecting them with someone who can help. So, it's putting it in a different perspective. Iris, you had a question or wanted to add something?
Morning.
Good morning. I love that you're also wearing this little headband.
We'll talk now.
I have done three-way calls, and I noticed the difference how I feel when I do those. But in the beginning, I was feeling kind of hard on myself because I felt like I was the person that was supposed to close that. But it was so good for you to say and mention how it's okay. It was supposed to be, you might have to, do it 3 times or 7 times, and so that kind of takes a lot of pressure off of knowing that three-way calls are not, it's not really meant to be we're not meant to be the closer. So that is really helpful because, I know how I felt after those. They all went really well and they all signed up, but at the same time, there was always that fear in the back of my mind, like, what if I can't close this person? So for this person, right, I feel like I failed my friend or my business partner. And so, so thank you for sharing that, allowing us to know that this is three-way calls are not, it's not all on our shoulders to close that deal.
Yeah, thank you, Iris. And I think that's really important. It's not, and because it feels a lot less icky if you don't look at it as this is a closing call, because you don't want the prospect to feel this is, this is for their information and to find out what's the best next step for them. So Danielle, you had a question or you wanted to?
Yeah, I just want to just add a little bit of my experience, my perspective. I've learned that the best way or the most productive way is just be organic. Be organic. Don't try to have a conversation that would be any different than if you're just talking to someone, you meet them in a restaurant, or you're out and about.
Yeah.
Listen to the tone of the leader that's on the call with you. You can pick up on their tone, the way they finish a sentence. If they're going to take a pause and that's your point to jump in again, if they're leaving their tone at a higher note and they're ready to go into a different sentence, you can pick up on that. It's no different than being out in the streets and talking to someone else. Go into these calls with the mindset that I want to get to know you because I want to help you. That's my goal. Subconsciously, you can have key targets you want to hit on, right? Key things you want to hit on, like, okay, I need to know them. I want to introduce them to my leader. Yes, ideally, I want to close them, but that may not be that point. Your goal is to leave a great impression, not only of you, your leader, but of the company that you're representing and the products. They're going to be more attracted to that than the scripting, because people can pick up on that energy. It's about energy. So just be real, be organic, and know when to speak. If you're that kind of person who you're having a conversation with someone and you are constantly interjecting and you're cutting someone off, that's something you need to work on, because you're not going to have a productive conversation with anyone. There's a time and a place to speak. We tell our kids that, right? So we have to do that ourselves and just take a step back and stop overthinking about it. Stop being so focused on this end goal of I got to close. No, you need to leave a good impression and get to know them. From there, that may be a seed that you planted that will eventually come around. But they have a great impression of you, your leader, your business, everything you represent, and that's what you want. And I think that will just build. So that's just
I appreciate that, Danielle. And to be clear, what I was sharing, as far as a script, was really basically the slide that I showed is an outline. And I do think it's a good structure. You want those components in your three-way call. You want to edify the prospect. You want to edify your business partner. But I think you're absolutely right. You want this call to be a good experience, because when you have a good experience, you want more of that experience. You don't want it to be something that felt uncomfortable. You want it to be natural and be a natural conversation. And this is, I do really, really like the structure of these are the components to really, I mean, to have in front of you, like, oh, wait, we forgot to edify the, I forgot to say something good about the prospect. Just, you don't have to worry about that if you've got it in front of you. So.
I agree wholeheartedly that and by having that, it's like you always want to tap into that, right? But that should almost be like in your subconscious. Okay, did we hit on this? Did we hit on this? Did we hit on this?
Right. Well, it's not at first, right?
Yeah.
It's not even for, I think after you do it for a couple of years, it's not at first. But it's, it is after a couple of years, I guess, but it's something that, it's a good outline to go by. It's a good starting point if you don't know where the hell to start. Right. Yeah. John, you had something else you wanted to contribute.
Just adding on, I like what Charmaine had to say, and then Danielle expanded on, and I'm a conversationalist, and if you guys are like me, then you can have a conversation with almost anyone. And so it turns in, especially if I know the product and I know the person, and I know my upline that I'm bringing on and edifying, I just want to be a part of the conversation. So that's a good thing that we want to jump in, I would say. We have to pull back. It's like I'm a musician and I got a drummer who's just not loud enough. But if I got a drummer that's louder, but I can tell him to pull back, okay? So you need to have that energy there, just know how to pull back. That's how I'm relating it with myself, is to pull back and learn and listen to what's going on, and not just want to be a part of the conversation, because I am, but it's just in a whole different thing here going on. And I look forward to it. So.
Good point. Good point. Thank you, John. Julie, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Early where you are.
New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I love this subject. I have to tell you, it's one of my favorite parts of network marketing is the teamwork. This is an amazing subject because it is a skill, like you said, to develop. And what I've discovered is the outline is perfect. I love the outline, but I also love what Danielle shared about coming from your heart. So what really has helped me over the years is not just doing, but also even planning ahead. For instance, on the outline, you talk about edifying that other person. Well, if you know a little bit about that person already, being able to bring that out and maybe have a couple notes ahead of time as to how what you know about that person. For instance, hardworking, person of integrity, and those, just bringing that out initially is it. I have to tell you, if anybody gives me a compliment when they first start talking to me, I'm like, hey, you're my friend. So, I mean, it's just a natural magnet to have a compliment given. And so I always say, if you can start out any conversation, even if it's going to be a difficult conversation, with a compliment, and then the thing, whatever you're going to do, and then end it with another compliment, right. You're just going to help that person want to move forward as much, or even give you a referral, worst case scenario. So I just think it's an amazing skill to develop. And I have to say it's important, I think, to plan it, to do some role play. I think role play helps a lot. And then also maybe using some choice words that I've learned to use. For instance, I like to say, hey, I'd like to go the extra mile for you and invite you to meet the person I get to work with, who's helping me grow my business to a whole new level. And I know that our teamwork will help you with that same thing. I'd like to invite you. And those are the words that I've learned to use that just come out. And as I use them, they usually pay off. And that's all I want to say.
I love that. I love that. So I love that verbiage to go the extra mile, and I'm taking notes. So thank you so much, Julie. John, real quick, and then I got to turn it over to Melanie because I want to keep this under an hour for us. And she's
I'm sorry.
Gonna help us do some role playing.
Yes, this is so important. I remember Joe Giuliano really giving me a training one time about this. He says, John, you're on the phone with somebody and it seems like they kind of want to do something. They're not too sure. Text me while you're talking to them. Oh. Joe, can you do a quick three-way? I got a 38-year-old, blah, 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 blah. And he'll say yes. But what I'll say, just call me. And then Joe can just call in. I can say, oh, wow, Joe's calling me right now. You mind if I catch that call? And they're like, yeah, yeah, because they don't want to be rude and say, don't take that phone call. As a matter of fact, they may want to pull away for about 5 seconds and then get on the phone with Joe and then tie it in on the three-way and say, Joe, this is the guy I was talking to you about, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I wanted to mention that was a really important training. I haven't gotten to do that just yet, but I've role played it a couple of times and I'm more comfortable with that. So if that's important with y'all too.
Thank you for sharing that, John. I have done that. That has been my mode of operation. But now I've heard leaders recently refer to that as the ambush. So I haven't, and it doesn't feel like, it feels very natural to me. And I'll say, hey, you know what? I know I can get Joe real quick. Hey, do you have a second? And I'll add him in. So there's different, but if you've got someone who's really saying, yes, I want to take a look at the business, it is very professional to set up a time. Right. So there is definitely both approaches. And I think there is room for, there's a place for both of them for sure. So thanks for that, John. Melanie Jordan.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I know Peg's probably killing me right now. She's got this look because she loves her light, right? She wants me to be in the light. I'm like Gordon this morning. I have no makeup on. It's 7 a.m. and I'm drinking coffee and I don't even like coffee, but I'm here. So the reason that I bring that up, though, is to do two things. One, we're about Fearless February and moving into. So if you want something different and you want to do something different than we just left the last quarter or last year, then you have to change some of the things you do. So for me, that was showing up. I could use the excuse that it's really early in the morning and the one morning I get to sleep in because tomorrow's church and the last 5 days are school. So Saturday morning, I'm like, I can catch a replay, right? I can do that. But I have chosen to choose to show up to set the example that really we can tie into these trainings and tie into being around everybody and change. And then they'll see that with your new prospect. And the reason we're talking about three-way calls is I feel like across the board, some of you are really, really good at doing three-way calls because you have no problem getting them on the phone. I would say probably John is probably Charmaine, off the top of my head, two people who have no problem getting somebody on a three-way call. That not a hiccup at all. Other people would either have never put somebody on a three-way call because they believe they can do it themselves, or they don't want to bug somebody. Like sometimes we feel like we're imposing. I texted Kenny the other night. I had to respond to a text message because I really was stumped and this person had commented on my page. And I'm like, how do you even approach that? I know who she is, but I don't know. Right. So I had screenshotted that and sent it to Kenny. I didn't think twice about asking Kenny, to be honest with you. I didn't. So there's a part about us that we have to decide how we're going to look at the three-way call. The reason that when I was talking to bringing it up to Peg is I feel like some of us want to build teams. I feel like there's a strength in the three-way call that we are not tapping into when it comes to our leaders. And if you're going to be that next leader and that's what you want to do, and I hear so many of you talk that you want that position of coach, you want that position to move up the career path. I believe that the three-way call, you have to be able to teach your team and build a team that is comfortable enough to bring their people to you and then know that they don't have to know all the answers and they don't have to close. So when I just did the meeting on Thursday night, what I heard from so many people is some people expected the three-way call to be a closing call. Some people expected the call to be another touch. And I think that needs to be addressed this morning, because if I have talked to them, let's say 4 or 5 times, I sent a video, they got on a gel and tell. I have to say I would probably use Freedom Call if it was a prospect to business versus gel and tell. I probably wouldn't even tell them about that opportunity meeting because I put people in categories, right? So, and then another thing that I heard was a three-way call was about products. So you can have the three-way call about a product, right? You can say that I don't know, let me share a story. Let me get you on the phone with Danielle. And because I know her story, right? And you can use that as a product, but Danielle needs to know this is about a product and not a business call, because typically a three-way call is more for business in my world. So if you ask me to do a three-way call, I would assume that we are going to have a three-way call and I'm going to find out about business. The other thing is sometimes I feel like we want them to do the business. They have no intent. If you listen to the podcast of Anaya, they would never do, she said openly, she would never do the field, right? So with that, are we saying, oh, Julie would be so good at the business, but I know nothing about Julie and she's never in, nothing about, I know she had done network marketing, right? Because I know Julie, and she shared that. But if I didn't know that information about her, she had never been in the business before. She's never done a direct selling business. And then she didn't indicate that she needed more money. She didn't indicate that but I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to work with her. Or I am so close to a goal and I'm only seeing distributors. Am I putting her on a 3-way call for me, or am I putting her on a 3-way call for Julie? And I think that goes back to what we are looking for and asking the question prior to getting on the question. I do a lot of calls for a lot of different people, and I've seen so many different across the board. Also, like I love, John said, he popped in and, Danielle's like, where's the call going? I believe you should be smiling wallpaper. You should not be, unless I ask, Peg, would you share that with her? Or the other night I did a 3-way call with Danielle, and he's into bodybuilding, into stuff that they're using letters and names. I have no clue. I instantly went back and said, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with MLT. Let me have Danielle answer that question for you. Then I stayed on the call. She answered the question and I went right back. Did I answer, is there anything else? Then he started sharing about he was in network marketing. Great. Tell me what company you were in. Great. How, did you, I would love to show you our comp plan because I use the comp plan as if you did network marketing, I'm going to use the comp plan. I believe we have the best comp plan. So if you were successful in that business, or you thought you were successful in that business, let me show you why this comp plan is better than yours, right? Like I get I almost conceited, right? With that information. So I'm really quick to use that. And so that's how I do it. And also, like, I have never done a 3-way call with Diane, and I've never done a 3-way call with Christy. And I asked them this morning to help me do this role play, and then I'm going to let you guys go this morning. But when I asked them that, the reason I asked those 2 people is because I've never done one with either one of them, right? So I wanted to see, I also know that Christy was in Mary Kay with me. So I know that 3-way calls were a big thing in Mary Kay. So that's probably why they're not foreign to me. I feel I am going to take what Hannah said this morning to heart, because I know who I put her on a 3-way call with. And I do remember her doing that, but I never knew that feeling until she just shared that this morning. Right. So thinking of that is going to make me really think about how I put somebody on a 3-way call. And I think that goes for like having a man with a man, right? A lot of people say that, right? If I had a guy that I needed to do a 3-way call with, I'd probably look for a man to have a 3-way call, right? Also, if you're a single mom and you have a bunch of kids, a lot of people ask moms to do with me when really I like to talk about money, right? So if I was going to pick a mom to go do something, I would probably ask Tina or Hannah to do the 3-way call, because they're all about their children. I'm all about my kids in a very different way. So to me, if I was going to look at a mom, but because I have 9 kids, right? A lot of people look at me like that, where I like to talk facts and money. So, knowing who you're having the 3-way call with, both sides, who is your prospect and who is the person that we're giving. And as we're elevating all of these people, I think knowing that if I called Brooke and I asked her to do a 3-way call today with one of my people, I'm not expecting her to close that person. So I let her off the what if I screw this up for Mel? Right? Because that's what happens when you get on the phone. She's going to want to say yes, because I know Brooke, but then she's going to turn around and be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do it. Right? Her heart's going to start pumping. I would never give her a lot of time, because I know that she would have practically a heart attack prior to, right? So I would spring it on a person like Brooke. Nancy, I would say, like, Nancy has this fabulous life that I look on Facebook. I would text her and say, hey, what time do you have tonight? Do you have these 2 times? This works for my person. Right? So it goes back to me knowing the person, me knowing who I'm going to do the 3-way call with, and then turning around and figuring out what works best for those people on both sides. And so it really comes back to still us, right? We still have the control, even though we're asking to do the three-way call. And I think that really, to be honest with you, until you do about 30 of them, you're never going to be comfortable. And if you're like me, I've probably done 3,000 in the last 20 years, but at the same time, I still like, oh, I should have said that. Oh, I should have said that. Oh, next time I'm going to say that, right? So if you're still learning and you're still trying to tweak it, I have to say, because I'm a talker, I try to be very quiet as long as possible. Really quick answers, like looking at my phone constantly the whole time I'm on a three-way call, if it's possible. If I'm not driving down the car, right, I can't. But really cautious about, did I answer your question? And the one opening that I like to use, I was telling Peg and me use the same kind of thing that Danielle actually used. Your time's valuable, so is mine. I want to know what you've seen in New You Life, you know, so I don't use New You Life a whole lot, the word New You Life. I'm like, so what have you seen so far and what excited you about it? So if Julie had invited this person to a Jill and Tell, a freedom call, you know, in a power hour, and I'm the fourth or fifth touch, I'm probably going to lead the call closer to closing. Does that make sense? I just assume if you've heard all those things, I am now in the position of closing the call. That's one, I have the skill set to do it. So I would put myself in that role for Julie, but also I would think, why are you getting on the phone with me? If you either have to be interested that you're missing something, or Julie really wants you in the business and you don't want to do it. You don't want to tell Julie no. And I'm at the call to decide which one, right? That's kind of the way I would look at that call. So there's just a few things that I wanted to share, and I kind of talked over the other night, and we're going to do a couple of recordings, and amazing Peg is going to help me do all that. She's like, no, she is. But because I really think that the more you guys do, the more you'll feel confident in doing it. So Diane, you want to unmute?
Yes, dear.
My children and dogs are going crazy. I'm sure you guys can hear it, so I'm just going to apologize. And I think sometimes when we work from home, right, it makes it good. It mortifies me completely. Like that you guys talk about three-way calls and getting somebody on. No, this is what I just want to choke somebody. Christy, are you still on?
I am.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so which one of you guys want to be my person that I'm the customer or potential customer, or
I'll be the prospect.
Okay, Chrissy, that means you're up. So
Okay.
I'm gonna call, and so two things. I don't spring it on people unless Diane was like, "Oh my gosh, what about this? Oh my gosh, what about this?" If I feel like her mind is going faster than I could even answer, I feel like she's already in. She just needs a couple things answered, and I'll pretty quickly that's when I would spring a call. Does that make sense? Great. You sound so excited. Do you mind? I was like, I bet you I could get Paul on the phone. I bet you I could get Kenny on the phone. I would love for you to meet somebody else on our team, you know, like, and I'm really quick to just see that momentum. If she's, you know, yes, I'll do it. Totally okay. Great. I don't go in and I don't tell Christy a whole bunch about Diane, and I don't tell Diane a huge amount about Christy. I'll do more about Christy than I will anything. She's my business partner. I knew her in 2 businesses. The woman is the most peaceful woman I've ever met. Let's see if I can get her on the phone. Right. And so then Christy, I'm going to get you on the phone. And then Christy, are you there?
I am.
Diane, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christy, for taking time out of your day. I was talking to Diane and she had a couple more questions, and I think she's just kind of really looking for a couple things answered in the business. And I just, you know, I probably could answer it, but I really wanted to have her meet you and see if there's a couple things that you could answer for us. And Diane she's just phenomenal. She's a workaholic. She's got a heart of gold. And I just really want to see if this is a right fit for her. So Christy, if you will give us just, I don't know, 10 minutes. Is that okay, guys? Or do you have 15 minutes?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just have a few questions.
Perfect.
Well, thank
Okay.
you so much.
So Christy, this is my issue. I've never done network marketing before, and I want to know what training will I have to go through, and is it available to me? And also, how do I understand the comp plan? Do I have a team? Like, does somebody help me?
We have so much training available to you. Literally, it's like an online university, and what works for you as well as your lifestyle, your home life. And so you'll have an app that will help you. You have a full team that is here. We're like family, and everybody is this one community, just helps each other. And so everything you need is literally at your fingertips. It's a matter of, are you willing to be coachable, and how we can help you and guide you each step by step. So there's no intimidation involved. It's really how it can benefit you.
I see, but the thing that I was really concerned about is I don't know anybody. I don't really, know anybody in the network marketing field. So how does this work?
We will guide you through. It's like everybody knows, tons of family and friends, and we teach you to work outside of that. If you know someone, whether it's a family member or a friend that you can share that with, they know somebody that you don't know. And so they can refer you. For example, I just had a brand new person out of state that was a customer of mine, and she referred me to somebody that thought would enjoy the products that I didn't even know. And so it just spreads. It's like, I always was taught, Mary Kay, if you like throw the rock out and into the river, and you know how it trickles along, it's the exact same way. It just it literally starts with one person, and then you go from another person. And so if you keep it at a small number of who does that person know, and just genuine from your heart, why you love the product and passionate, and it may not be for you. Is there somebody else that could benefit from it? So it's just one person, another, and it moves on from there, the trickle effect.
I see. I know Melanie told me there's groups that I can get into for the company and get more familiar with how the products work and what they do and how they're made. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, absolutely. We have calls set up throughout the week. And so we will give you a schedule and a calendar, and you can go through which is convenient for you, which you can make the time for, as well as we can set pockets throughout the day. We have unlimited team groups on social media, as well as we have individual team calls that you can participate in as well.
Oh, that sounds really great. And I also know Melanie told me that, excuse me, that there was that our comp plan, or your comp plan, is the best comp plan in network marketing. Do you believe that too?
I absolutely do. It's a phenomenal plan, and we have multiple videos, as well as we have slides and other presentations depending on the type of learner that you are. We can give you the tools that you need. Of course, you have access to all those.
And that's awesome. And will I get into that as soon as I sign up?
Absolutely, from day one.
That sounds good. That sounds really good. Thank you, Christy. That was very informative. I will.
Of course, happy to help you.
Thank you. Mel, I think this sounds really good, but I think I need a day or two to think about it.
Okay, so I love the way that she said that. Both of you were so nice to each other. I was like, I picked the most nicest two people on this call, I think, this morning, because both of you were so nice. I was like, listening to the, I'm like, man, first off, I did not. So strategically, I wanted to pick the two of you because I knew you guys would both say yes. I'm not going to lie. But you guys literally made the nicest, easiest call in history of mankind of a three-way call, because that would never go that way. But
that I would have to agree with, because it's not always, it's really literally not always easy, because you never know what you're going to get and what questions. And so you just really have to be prepared for anything.
Yeah,
But I appreciate
agree.
both of you. We're gonna do a couple, and just actually as soon as this call's over, I invited a couple people to get on a Zoom with me to do some recording, but so you guys can hear. Brooke, you have a question.
Yes. Okay. So if you are like the senior person and you don't have the answer, what do you do then?
I don't have the answer all the time, and a lot of times I'm the senior person, and that's the best to me. I actually almost feel like even if I knew a portion of the answer or I could muddle through the answer, I don't say it in that moment either. I am very quick to, because they've already edified me. Does that make sense? They've already made me look like I walked on water, right? Either prior to the call or in the call. So in that moment, because I like to open my call of so the one thing that they didn't do that I always do is I want to know what Melanie gave to Diane. So has she been on a gel and tell? Has she been on a freedom call? Does she know our leaders? Has she dreamt on anything else? Because if she's brand new and she's only seen a video, a 4-minute get on the gel video, I would talk completely different to that person than I would to somebody who's been on something. And then I love to leave the next step. So sometimes your next step comes early. So if I got to a question that I felt like I was Paul, Kenny, somebody that I knew that knew the comp plan better, Chris Kavanaugh, right? If somebody's going to talk about big money, you know, there's a level of person that you're interviewing that you have to admit is past your pay grade, right? We talked about the chicken list last week. We talk about that chicken list all the time. You know, that your chicken list could be different than my chicken list. Does that make sense? So your chicken list could be somebody you just admire so much that I feel I could talk to that person, no problem. My chicken list is people who are making $500,000 a year or more, and I'm going to get them on the phone with Chris or Paul. I would almost, even though I believe we're in the best company, I can tell you why you should join the business and I can do that portion. I would never talk to that person by myself. I would only be the connector in that, even though I feel hands down how confident I am about this business. So knowing that portion. And then so let's say Diane didn't, you know, she had some information, but she hadn't been on anything. That's where I would open up that question to, man, that's a great question. I know that Kenny could give you all of that information way faster than me, and then I wouldn't miss anything. So next, what's your next opening? Do you have tomorrow open, later this evening? Right. So I'm closing that call, even if that's the second question. Does that make sense? So I might lead another question after, but I'm giving that, and then I'm going to put them on a call. Or tonight's freedom call. That's wonderful. Get on freedom call with me tonight. Diane, did you send that link to her? Okay, yeah, have her get on. It's great. You're going to meet the master distributor. He's going to show you where we came from and where we are now. And then I'd stop talking right there. That's all they need to know about that call. And if it was somebody who, I don't know, like it was not a comp, you know, it depends on what the question was, obviously, right? So, and it depends on like your skill level. Somebody like Danielle, she knows inside and outside of what the products do. Hannah knows amazing things about the products. I don't know. I know it works. I can't tell you all the things that Liz could tell you or they could tell you about the products. But does that make me less educated? I know we have these great videos. I know I can share that, right? So that even if I knew all that information, I would still not want to share all that information because then I'm not duplicatable. I now make Diane feel like she's inadequate, maybe even unintentionally, or Christy feeling inadequate of leading that call or where to go, right? So we want people to be, the idea of a three-way call is to share information. Yes. Collect decisions. Yes. But also to make it duplicatable. You don't have to know anything. You need a phone and an invite. And all you have to do is be passionate about the product and be authentic. Are you authentic about why you're here this morning at this time in the morning, right? Like it's pitch black outside. Okay. It's 10 below, pitch black. There's nothing going on outside my window, right? I'm passionate about the product. I'm passionate about the company, and I'm passionate about my own personal goals to move up. Right. So I'm choosing to show up. And if you share that with a prospect, I'm changing the way I'm doing things because I'm ready for a new level. I'm ready to make more money in this business. The economy is not getting better. I'm looking to make more money. I'm leveling up. I was wondering if you could get on a call with one of my business partners tonight. Right? I want to have tomorrow when I have my meeting, I want to say I called 10 people today. Do you mind being one of my 10 three-way calls I booked in a day? Right? Does that kind of answer your question, Brooke, and kind of give you a little more? Brooke's not talking to me.
So
but-
good, Mel.
Okay,
That-
so
that
I'm
was-
just saying, so that's me. I know we ran over, and I appreciate all of you guys so very much for staying with Peg and me. We're not Paul, we're not Kenny, but we're gonna be.
But speaking of that, if Kenny's on, and I just wanted to, Mel, thank you so much. There was so much gold, and I'm so glad I'm recording this because there was so much gold. The last 10 minutes was insane. So, and I think I hope everybody's taking notes. I did record this. I will post it. But I wondered, Kenny, would you like to hop on and close out the call for us?
Sure, I can add a few things. Great to hear from everybody. And authenticity and genuine, I think, has to be the calling card when you're communicating with somebody. And we've all heard what sounds like a canned presentation. I've done them myself, and then I've done them off script, and I miss content going off script. But the level of authenticity, I think, dwarfs missing out the content, so say less is really important. I think a huge component to this training is so many of us aren't even doing three-way calls, where there's talk of three-way calls and there's this no man's land, where do I go? They watch the video, they're interested. How can I get them on the phone with somebody? Not to close them. I don't even like to use the word close. It comes across salesy. It comes across pitchy. I find education is so important. Alexi talked about that from the very beginning, how important that component to what we have is. So how do you bridge getting Paul Capozio, Chris Cavadon, Kenny Olson, Peg Tucker, Melanie Jordan on the phone with somebody once you've created that level of intrigue? And that's the trick. So I think the text component is so underutilized. So if by way of example, and I was texting this with Joe Giuliano this morning. So if Joe Giuliano is if he's the person that I want to bring into the equation, and I have my friend Trisha, who's the prospect, how do I get Trisha on the phone with Joe? So what I do is a text. I sync up a three-way text. You have to have all three people's, you have to have the other two people's phone numbers in your phone. You have to have Joe's number. You have to have Trisha's number. So there's certain ingredients that have to exist for this to happen. So Messenger has allowed us to correspond. So you could also do it through Messenger if you can't get the person's phone number. So what I would do, I would say something as simple on a text. Hey, Trisha, thanks for, watching the video. You had mentioned that you were intrigued. You wanted to learn a little bit more. Joe, this is my friend, Trisha. Trisha, I would like to have a call with me, you, and Joe. Let me know when would be a good time. I put that on text, and I keep it really short and really simple. So now Trisha may never respond, okay? But at least you give yourself a shot for Trisha to respond. It's really important that Joe respond immediately, or as fast as possible with something as simple as, hey, Kenny, thanks for the introduction to Trish. Trisha, let me know when would be a good time to connect over the phone for 5 or 10 minutes. That piece of it, that person that you're calling on to do that three-way call has to chime in to soften the beach, so to speak, in order for Trisha to maybe pop her head out of the sand and raise her hand and say, yeah, I can, I can do 3 o'clock tomorrow. What does that look like for you? So, and you can also I can prod that along a little bit if Joe responds, but we've all had that emptiness. It happens. It's going to happen. But if you're not doing three-way calls, you're not going to build the business to the level that you're looking to build it. And the last thing I want to say is I think the three-way call is so underutilized for other components. It sharpens me when I do a three-way call. I get reminded of talk tracks that I might have forgotten about. It sharpens the person that's already in the business because it's a training mechanism. So believe it or not, the person that's probably, I know people will argue the prospect's the most important, and they are. I'm not saying they're not, but a byproduct of that three-way call is I get better, and the person that's already in the business gets better. And maybe that third party will listen and get educated. And I think the same thing with our gel intel. The gel intel, I think, is more of a tool for our field than it is a tool for if there's 70 people on a call, 15 are potential customers and 55 are distributors. As a distributor, we get reminded about what the gel has done for us and things that we might have forgotten that we can get complacent about. So I think that, again, the byproduct is as important as the result of that potential, prospect getting involved. So I went on a little bit longer than I intended, but thank you for giving me an opportunity to share.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you for being on. And thank you for that. Yeah, I've been using the text to soften, as you said, soften the beach. And it definitely does. It builds that familiarity when the call does happen. Makes it more likely to happen too, right?
And there's edification that goes on too. So with Joe, I'd say Joe and his wife have been on the gel for 5 years. So now I'm subtly saying, wow, this works for men and it works for women. Wow, he's been on it for 5 years. So the shorter you can be with your talk track with content, that Joe and his wife have been on the gel for 5 years. Okay, wait a minute. He's been on it. He's someone I probably want to talk to. Because he's been on it and I have questions.
Thank you. I want to close this with a quick suggestion. Do a three-way call today. Do a three-way text. Get that ball rolling. Try and get 5 done by the end of the weekend. And I also wanted to say one of the reasons Mel and I started this conversation is we were trying to get a co-op of people who were open to doing three-way calls for each other as sideline. And so I am putting together a Google form. I'll put it in the Empower Hour group. I think Mel sent it out to a couple of people, and I didn't have it set up to get the results back yet. It's just a little bit of a work in progress. But my thought, Mel and I were talking, and we thought if we could get people's name, occupation, background, gel experience, phone number, time zone, that way we would know if you've got a teacher. Oh, here, so-and-so was a teacher, right? You've got a retired nurse. Donna Stelter's a nurse, right? I keep bringing Donna into this as a nurse, but just having that connection and other people that we can, I think it'll make more three-way calls happen, and it'll take the burden off of some people that are just being hammered with three-way call requests too. So I think it'll serve both purposes, and we can, if someone comes in to do a three-way call who maybe is only with New Life for 6 months and hasn't really, it doesn't feel, oh my gosh, how can I do a three-way call? What have I accomplished? You're gonna share what you love, why you're doing this, why you chose to do this, and what you expect and what your experience has been with the company so far. And then if they love what they hear and they want to hear another perspective, then that next call can be set up. So do some three-way calls, you guys. And let's, we are, like I said, we are in that spot. We are in a very sweet spot in the time frame, the window of time in our company. So let's not play around. Let's get it. Great. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, this was great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great training.
Thank you. It was wonderful.